It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
Yeah.
It's some weird shit.
It's weird. It's very weird. It's all very creepy. And the fact that it was a real place. I told you, like, I was telling people that Alex Jones told me about that a long time ago. I thought he was out of his fucking mind. There's a place, they take them, they compromise them, they have sex with kids, and like, what?
Your fucking impression is so good.
I've known that guy forever. I knew that guy before he talked like that. His voice wasn't as scraggly. All the years of tequila and vodka. But I thought it was nuts, and it turned out to be true.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's a fucked up world we live in. We need Jesus. I think for real. Like if he came back now, it'd be great. Like Jesus, if you're thinking about coming back,
right now,
now's a good time.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah,
now's a good time. We're kind of fucked.
Well, there's a lot of people that think that might be coming.
Well, it might be.
Mark,
Are you the kind that sees signs, sees miracles, or do you believe that people just get lucky? Is it possible there are no coincidences?
I mean, that might be what all this stuff is. It might be we reach a certain point where we're so unmanageable and so chaotic that something comes down and gives us a guideline. I mean, this is what Moses essentially experienced, supposedly, right? When he came back with his 10 commandments. This is supposedly what, you know, these people that have had these religious visions, there's a way to follow, and there's a greater power that's above everything, that controls this whole thing and keeps it all together.
This shit matters.
Yeah.
That, you know,
it does matter.
Yeah, like everything we do matters. I think if you know, atheists, I think, can find their own religion. It might be religion of science or religion of climate change or whatever it might be. But to not believe in a higher power means that really nothing I do matters, ultimately. I live, I die, that's it. I have a hard time with that because I believe there's a seen world and an unseen world. And there's forces of good and forces of evil. And that there's a purpose for all this. And there's, you know, there's a lot of reasons why we're doing this. There's a lot of opportunities to do this. If there is the Christianity part and Jesus wants to come back and save everything,
it'd be good right around now.
Yeah. I got to think that something, I think this is going to be a crazy year. I think something, especially if it gets down to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's a wild world we live in.
Swing away, Meryl. Meryl. Swing away.
in the Bible, they, you know, they don't have the words to explain like what a spaceship is. It's like, no, it's like a chariot in the sky.
Ezekiel.
Yeah.
When you pull up the description that Ezekiel had of the wheel within a wheel, my God, it sounds like a UFO.
Yeah.
You know, and what a lot of people, I would like to talk to Tucker Carlson about this, because Tucker Carlson has this belief too. He just talked to people about this, and he thinks it's always been here, and that it's a part of existence, and that this is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils, and that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings. Yeah, it's likely that they've always been here, and it might be connected somehow or another to our minds. The mind, which produces psychedelic chemicals, might also be a gateway to other dimensions. Whatever you experience when you experience dimethyltryptamine, which we know is produced by the brain, which is the key component of ayahuasca, you experience entities. You experience exactly what they're talking about there.
Yeah.
So what is that? Do we just dismiss that as hallucination?
I think we legalize it and promote it and encourage people to do it.
And then the aliens come. And then we realize they've been here all along. I think they've probably been here all along. I think they're probably here right now. They're just not here. They're just not here,
Yeah.
but they're part of this.
Yeah, I agree.
We just have a very limited ability to see.
Do you think they're benevolent?
Probably not. No, I don't think so. I think progress requires a lot of chaos. I think human beings, in particular, innovative, creative creatures, have to have something to battle against to become their better selves. We find that in human beings. I think it's probably a universal rule as far as how progress gets perpetrated. It probably gets created through battle.
There's got to be some benevolent races, though, if there's multiple races of...
Perhaps benevolence is just like our desire for ultimate peace. We have this like ridiculous idea that, like you can have good with no evil. And there's no real evidence for that.
No, I agree.
There's no real evidence as far as human society.
Eyes Wide Shut's pretty
my
crazy
God.
movie.
That is pretty crazy. Because back when Eyes Wide Shut first came out, everybody's like, well, that's not real. And then you hear about Epstein's Island, you're like, maybe it was. Maybe there are parties like that.
There's a conspiracy that he...
Still do it. Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
You ever look at music that you've written and look back at it and say, whoa, that surprised me?
I used to. I don't do that anymore. I don't know how I got to write those songs.
What do you mean you don't know how?
Well, those early songs were like almost magically written. Darkness at the break of noon, shadows even the silver spoon, a handmade blade, a child's balloon.
Eclipses both the sun and moon. To understand, you knew too soon. There is no sense in trying.
This Dylan classic, It's All Right, Ma, was written in 1964.
Piece the hollow horn, plays wasted words, proves to warn that he not busy being born, is busy dying.
Well, try to sit down and write something like that. There's a magic to that, and it's not Siegfried and Roy kind of magic. It's a different kind of a penetrating magic. And I did it. I did it at one time.
You don't think you can do it today?
Mm-mm.
Does that disappoint you?
Well, you can't do something forever, and I did it once, and I can do other things now, but...
Yeah, and still, there's no effort whatsoever to try to get to the bottom of it, find out who the people were and why they were there, and there's no real hardcore congressional investigation of what was being done, how were they being influenced, what was it about.
Why do you think that is?
Some fucking powerful people on that list, Jack. If there was an Epstein's Island, which there was, and if...
There could be other ones.
Dude, for sure. Why wouldn't there be?
He didn't kill himself either.
He definitely didn't. No, I don't think he did.
You ever see that?
Sure, yeah, I love magic.
Because I've read from a number of different sources that that's one of the main themes of you on your album. But we're not talking like David Copperfield magic here, are we?
No. I mean, I like that kind too.
Sure.
But I'm talking more the magic that we experience in life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's love or a drunken evening.
Yep.
Dancing till the sun rises.
Making out with the ghost.
Do you think some people are more kind of prone to things like that happening to them than others?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm prone to that because
Yeah.
I'm very open to the supernatural. I've experienced multiple ghosts in my life, or supernatural energies, whatever you want to call them. So it's just like the symbolism and the occult is kind of always in the peripheral. I am definitely drawn to the occult.
You know, a lot of my book is about my wanting to sing. Ever since I was a little girl, my family lied to me and told me that I was better than Shirley Temple, and I believed them.
See, you're not helping a kid when you do that.
No, and I totally believed them and everything. And then when I was 6, all of a sudden, you know, I was a has-been, and they started to, like, tell my younger cousin that she was...
she was the real singer?
Yeah, and it, like, really upset me, so I, like, summoned Satan, and I write about how I made it...
Where do you summon Satan?
It's in the chapter called Eat, Pray, Love, Conjure Satan. And when I was 12 years old, I signed a deal with Satan in my room, and I was to...
CBS doesn't condone this.
Wait a minute. Because I wanted to get famous no matter what, and, you know, then I forgot that I had this deal with Satan and everything, and then I got really famous, and then one day I, like, had this tragic singing accident at
the... Oh, yes, I remember that, yeah.
And I realized...
It's interesting to see how much has changed, you know, in that, over the last, I don't know, 15 years, just how people can talk about it now without being called crazy.
Yeah.
There's some disclosure.
Mm-hmm. And the darkest theory is one that Lazar talked about. He said something that they talked to him about when he was working on these back-engineered crafts is that what they use us as is vessels for that we are souls. We hold souls, and that this is essentially a farm, and this is how they develop souls through us, and that what our soul is. I mean, if you had to imagine. What our soul is some force, something that they farm here with us. When we die, it transcends and becomes whatever they are in whatever space they exist in.
That's what Bob said?
He's talking about it, that this is one of the crazier stories that has to do with religion that's attached to the UFO phenomenon. And Diana
Tucker's talked about the demonic part of it. Yeah. What did Diana say?
Well, this is what some of these people think, is that these things have always been here, and they are a part of our history, and that this idea that they're coming here on these metal crafts from another planet is not necessarily the whole picture.
But don't you think there has to be some sort of field of value that can orient people into, like, hey, let's do things a little bit better because these things actually matter. There is right and wrong. There is morality. There is certain, like...
Well, unfortunately, the problem with living in a secular society and living in a society that has a lot of people that are atheists, that have no belief system at all, is you find a belief system. And that's a lot of these people that call themselves atheists, or they've subscribed to the religion of woke. You know, their God is equity and inclusiveness. Their God is this ideology that they think that you have to subscribe to. And that's why it's spooky. But I think as time rolls on, people are going to understand the need to have some sort of divine structure to things, some sort of belief in the sanctity of love and of truth. And a lot of that comes from religion. A lot of people's moral compass.
Hello, Professor Dawkins. How are you? I'm Ben Stein. I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You have written that God is a psychotic delinquent invented by mad, deluded people.
No, I didn't say quite that. I said something rather better than that.
Oh, well, please tell us what you said. Please tell us what you said.
Well, I would have to read it from the book.
No, please.
The God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.
So that's what you think of God?
Yeah.
How about if people believed in a God of infinite lovingness and kindness and forgiveness and generosity, sort of like the modern day God? Why spoil it for them?
Oh,
why not just let them have their fun and enjoy it?
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. I write a book, people can read it if they want to. I believe that it is a liberating thing to free yourself from primitive superstition.
So religion's a primitive superstition?
Oh, I think it is, yes.
So you believe it's liberating to tell people that there is no God?
I think a lot of people, when they give up God, feel a great sense of release and freedom.
Why do you think that? I mean, what's your dad? What's your scientist? What's your dad?
I think, well, I've had a lot of letters saying that, and I've...
There are 8 billion people in the world, Dr. Dawkins. How many letters have you had?
No, I haven't done that. That's quite true.
Professor Dawkins seemed so convinced that God doesn't exist that I wondered if he would be willing to put a number on it.
Well, it's hard to put a figure on it, but I mean, I put it as something like, 99% against or something.
Well, how do you know it's 99%
I
against,
don't.
say, and not 97%?
No, I did. You asked me to put a figure on it, and I'm not comfortable putting a figure on it. I think it's, I just think it's very unlikely.
What? But you couldn't put a number on it?
No, of course not. No.
So it could be 49%.
Well, it would be, I mean, I think it's unlikely, and it's quite far from 50%.
How do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I put an argument in the book.
Well, then who did create the heavens and the earth?
Why do you use the word who? You see, you immediately beg the question by using the word who.
Well, then how did it get created?
Well, by a very slow process.
Well, how did it start?
Nobody knows how it started. We know the kind of event that it must have been. We know the sort of event that must have happened for the origin of life.
And what was that?
It was the origin of the first self-replicating molecule.
Right, and how did that happen?
I told you we don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No, nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. What do you think is the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in evolution?
It could come about in the following way. It could be that at some earlier time, somewhere in the universe, a civilization evolved by probably some kind of Darwinian means to a very, very high level of technology and designed a form of life that they seeded onto, perhaps this planet. Now, that is a possibility and an intriguing possibility. And I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer.
Wait a second. Richard Dawkins thought intelligent design might be a legitimate pursuit?
And that designer could well be a higher intelligence from elsewhere in the universe. Well, but that higher intelligence would itself have had to have come about by some explicable or ultimately explicable process. It couldn't have just jumped into existence spontaneously. That's the point.
So Professor Dawkins was not against intelligent design, just certain types of designers, such as God.
So the Hebrew God, the God of the Old Testament, he doesn't exist in your view?
Certainly. I mean, that would be a very unpleasant prospect.
And the Holy Trinity of the New Testament,
nothing like that.
Do you believe in any of the Hindu gods? Like Vishnu?
How can you ask such a question?
You don't, right?
How could I? I mean, why would I, given that I don't believe in any others?
You don't believe in the Muslim God?
No. I mean, why do you even need to ask?
Well, I just wanted to be sure. So you don't believe in any God anywhere?
Any God anywhere would be completely incompatible with anything that I've said
I assume. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure you don't believe in any God anywhere.
No.
What if after you died you ran into God? He said, "What have you been doing, Richard? I mean, what have you been doing? I've been trying to be nice to you. I gave you a multi-million-dollar paycheck over and over again with your book, and look what you did."
Bertrand Russell had that point put to him, and he said something like, "Sir, why did you take such pains to hide yourself?"
But if the intelligent design people are right, God isn't hidden. We may even be able to encounter God through science, if we have the freedom to go there.
Dawkins told the crowd they should ridicule religious people. Let me quote him. He says, "Mock them, ridicule them in public. Their beliefs are insane, therefore they should be ridiculed with contempt."
Years in the future, this may serve as a reminder, like a verbal time capsule. Honor your treasure, meant for the minds that denied in the past, ignoring the signs every time that we asked you to listen. You dismissed us consistently, and now you're living out prophecy, first-hand witness to the times and and the miseries. No denying all the signs and conspiracies. We poured a hard time and urged you to listen, implored you to think, to make the right decision. Laughing aside, you just played the devil's advocate. Every time you heard the truth, you turned the opposite. Rejected anything that stood against your politics. Convince yourself that you were good by thinking positive. Always the optimist, are you still confident that ignorance is bliss during the apocalypse? Smack dab in the middle of the storyline, slap in your face, shift in your paradigm, searching your mind for the memories you blocked out. Information that you knew was true but locked out. Conversations that you wish could be repeated. Warning calls that you wish you would have heeded. Thought all those Christians were living in denial, but now you do anything to understand the Bible. Every day triggers old memories, reminders, remaining remnants remembered by survivors. Pieced together from the fragments of a quagmire. Lost souls gathered hungry around a campfire, brought together through the calmer recollections, torn apart by the warnings that they questioned. Looking back, they knew this day was unavoidable. They hated God, embracing sin whenever possible. Gave control to everything they knew was evil. Sold their souls and now they're living like medieval. A whole world without laws or morality, living in poverty and running from reality. I had a picture of missed opportunities, all the what ifs and lost possibilities. Cities burn like a giant crematorium, mountaintops collapse like an accordion. Wars are rumbling, governments crumbling, storm clouds gathering round, hear the thundering. Smack dab in the middle of the storyline, slap in your face, shift in your paradigm, searching your mind for the memories you blocked out. Information that you knew was true but locked out. Conversations that you wish could be repeated. Warning calls that you wish you would have heeded. Thought all those Christians were living in denial, but now you do anything to understand the Bible. Anarchy reigns in the streets, in the alleyways. No escape from the pain in the end of days. Left alone with no internet or telephone. Cities are graveyards, crumbling catacombs. Apocalyptic wickedness and pestilence. Epidemics and afflictions, malevolence. No protection, no government or military. Just infections and really full cemeteries. Catastrophes on another level biblical. Miserable when the locust swarm is visible. Turn and run from the state, you knew the outcome. Acting dumb and ignorant and asking how come. A social justice warrior with your politics. Emotional, convince yourself with willing ignorance. Way too late, no excuse could ever save face. And now you're living in a world without a safe space. Smack dab in the middle of the storyline, slap in your face, shift in your paradigm, searching your mind for the memories you blocked out. Information that you knew was true but locked out. Conversations that you wish could be repeated. Warning calls that you wish you would have heeded. Thought all those Christians were living in denial, but now you do anything to understand the Bible.
What if you're wrong?
Well, what if I'm wrong? I mean, anybody could be wrong. What if you're wrong about the great juju at the bottom of the sea?
Everyday evidence proving that the moon is transparent. I mean, you can see stars through the moon sometimes, as you can see here. And this right here would be impossible if the moon was a solid rock that you could land on. Remembering that you believe it's a solid rock that you could land on because they show you this bullcrap here, which has been proven time and time again that it's nothing but a hoax. And the only time that science can duplicate a lunar eclipse is by giving you a computer-generated video of how one ball moves in front of another ball to form a shadow on that ball. And you've never seen any of this with your own eyes. You've seen it on TV, or you read it in a book, or you heard it from NASA. And therefore, disregarding your inner wisdom, your common sense, your basic instinct that tells you when you look up at the moon, you see a transparent moon. You see the sky through the moon because it's a transparent moon. And now the first thing some of you flat earthers said when I posted the eclipse video was, oh, it's the moon. It's just the new moon. It's invisible. That's why it blocks the sun. You can't see it before it gets to the sun or after. But If you could see the stars through the transparent moon, then you would see the sun shine through the transparent moon. Now, come on, people. God gave you a brain. Use it. That eclipse was not the moon passing in front of the sun, regardless of how much awake you think you are. Now, as for you globe earthers, you can choose to believe the solid rock sun reflection bullcrap, because that's what they told you, or you can believe your inner wisdom, your common sense, and your basic instinct, which is what you see with your own eyes. But in the end, the only difference between globe earthers and flat earthers is flat earthers take it upon faith that the men who wrote the Bible are telling the truth. Globe earthers take it upon faith that the men who wrote the science books are telling the truth.
I'm not going to stand here, present some egghead scientific argument based on fact. And I can't change their mind. I won't change my mind because I don't have to. I won't change my mind on anything, regardless of the facts that are set out before me.
Mac, look, you're wasting our time. You're not going to get us to not believe.
And why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because, Mr. Reynolds, science is a liar sometimes.
Oh, this is insane, you fool!
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures.
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met, and you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Come on. That's a false equivalency.
Just answer the question, Mr. Reynolds.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I rest my case.
Oh, that got me. Yeah. Frank.